All right, everybody. It is always great to catch up with Platinum Mike Perry. And normally this happens ahead of a dirty boxing event. And this is one of those times. DBX 4 happening this Thursday in Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA, headlined by Gable Steveson versus Billy Swanson. Platinum Mike here once again. Mike, how are you, my man?
Oh man, I'm stoked, bro. So ready to head out to Nashville, go see the good old American country folk up there and put on a barn burner. That's a proper name for this one. It's gonna be a barn burner. DBX steps up the levels every time, and the fighters are bringing the heat.
Yeah, it's a very interesting card. We're gonna break down a lot of this, but a couple things I want to get to before that. First, congratulations on the big win over Jeremy Stevens at BKFC. I know you spoke with my colleague Damon Martin in depth
Oh man.
about the fight shortly after, but I'll ask. I guess the one question I wanted an answer to is now that you had a date, you had an opponent, you had stakes, you had a training camp, you dieted, and then you had a fight to pay that all off with a win to boot. Do you feel this massive weight lifted off of your shoulders? Because, every time you're doing DBX media, it was like, when are you fighting again? When are you fighting again? And now you have a fight out of the way heading into a DBX card.
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it does feel like I had a weight on my shoulders, and I definitely got to just get back in the ring and show the people that, I ain't with the games like that. And obviously, it's the entertainment business. We try to have fun, have a good time. And it can be stressful. There's certain stressful moments about a fight camp, cutting the weight, or just dieting at all times. Like you can't mess up the diet, especially the last week. And then I know it sounds easy or whatever, but I was in tune. I was so focused, and I guess all the trash talk online over the last year of people trying to hate on me. After I got the win at BKFC, this last fight was like all those people that talk just really. It's just noise, and I'm just not even gonna listen or pay attention to it anymore because I know what I go through. I know what I put myself through, my team, my coaches, what I put them through during training camp. That like having to hold mitts for me or just so many times in a week. And, I'm beating up on my coaches' bodies, and we're all working really hard to prepare for a victory in a brutal sport like bare knuckles. So it was nice to get that out of the way. And now, we're focused on the promotion aspect, pumping up Dirty Boxing 4. The fighters are doing a great job doing that. We had a few of them on Overdogs podcast talking some trash. And, the main event, Gable Steveson, such a humble warrior. And then his opponent came on spitting, talking that mess. So he's bringing the heat too. I'm really excited to see how it all plays out.
So as far as the Gable thing goes, because he just had the MMA debut for LFA a couple of months ago, and he just runs over his opponent. I think it was like 98 seconds. It was less than 2 minutes. And so we just sort of expected him to take another fight for LFA, maybe two, and then he's off to the UFC beginning of 2026. When this news dropped, I was like, what? I did not see this coming from a mile away. Did this take you as much by surprise as it took me that Gable Steveson was transitioning over to dirty boxing essentially less than a month after his MMA debut for a fight?
Right. I mean, um, his high level, gold medal mentality um doesn't surprise me that he's willing to do this. We had him at a dirty boxing event. He saw the striking, and he kind of wanted to in somewhat handicap himself or what the fans thought about him in the MMA world by coming over here and forcing himself into a striking bout. Uh, and I'm really excited to see how it plays out, man. He's a talent.
So do you like this for him as far as his development goes? Just jumping in there, and yeah, I guess handicapping is an interesting word to frame it by, because he can't rely on that incredible wrestling pedigree. And you can't clinch for too long without doing stuff, or else you get penalized now. So that takes a little something off the table as well. Kind of evens the odds a little bit for Billy Swanson a little bit, does it not?
A little bit. And Swanson's selling. He is he's selling the fight, and I can't wait to see it play out, because if he talked all that trash and then Gable does what Gable does in there, he's saying he's going to make it this brutal fight, and he wants to see what happens if he cuts Gable, see how he reacts to that. That's big talk. I mean, they are heavyweights, so it's big talk from big boys, but, everyone knows that Gable's the hottest prospect in the early rankings of MMA right now, and we get to have him fight at DBX. That's John's boy. That's my boy too. Gable's become one of my boys, man. I like that guy. So, I'm rooting for may the best man win. I'm a little bit rooting for Gable. I want to see his boxing skills, and he's ready to show the world. So make sure everybody tune in. We're free on YouTube, baby. DBX this Thursday.
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see that all play out, because again, that one took me by surprise. We also have Brian Battle back on the card. He's fighting Nick Coring, who is if you've ever been around Nate Diaz, you probably have seen Nick around him. Nick's one of those guys who has actually a lot of fighting experience himself, and he's got BKFC experience, MMA experience, got a pretty good MMA record too. I feel like things could get a bit wild with these two guys, not just in the fight, but throughout the week as well.
Oh man, I'm telling you, we also had Brian on the podcast to talk about his upcoming fight. He said, he's bringing a couple OGs with him to get his back, and I also said that I think that 209 crew, they got their boys back, but they're there to make sure that it's a fair fight, and everything be one-on-one. We'll see, security, how hard security will have to work this week in Nashville at DBX. And that's an interesting fight, because Brian's opponent does look super buff. It looks like a much different matchup than his first one. That the way it went in DBX, he kind of took the guy out easily, and everyone wanted to see what would happen if Brian got himself into a scrap. I think he's getting into a scrap this time, and he's not really fazed by it. He understands that, how you fight, it doesn't matter how you look, and he's been training for this, and I'm excited to see that one as well. There's some other good fighters on the card. We got Trinaldo coming back after his big win, first time in DBX, and he's a veteran of the game. He's had lots of UFC fights and other experience. So, and that's just a couple.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the updated lineup right now. If you're an MMA fan, you recognize a lot of these names. Jaleel Willis, who ton of Bellator experience, made his way up the ranks. You mentioned Francisco Trinaldo. Maria Agapova is fighting on this card. She had some big knockouts in the UFC. But let me tell you what my people's main event is, and I think anybody watching this knows exactly what I'm going to say. Can I just applaud the Dirty Boxing matchmaking team for getting Big Tuna back under the spotlight? Ben freaking Parrish, who Bellator destroyed. This guy was about to be a big star for them, and then they ruined it. So everyone keeps asking me, when's Big Tuna coming back? Where's he been? Well, now I'm here to tell you, Big Tuna is fighting on Thursday against former UFC fighter Braxton Smith. This is going to be fun. People are excited, Mike. This one might be the under the radar fight that everyone's going to be watching on Thursday.
Okay, that's good to hear. I mean, Dirty Boxing, man, our matchmakers, Primo Kawa and AJ Ariosa, they're doing an outstanding job stacking up these cards, and this is just DBX 4, and they get bigger and better every time. We've had countless UFC talent on the cards, and the thing about it is, these fighters that reach that level of UFC, they perform differently. They handle themselves differently. They've been in the spotlight. They've had the media, the cameras, and they fix how they talk. They conduct themselves in ways that maybe endorsements will be looking at them. So lots of spotlight on these guys here at our platform at Dirty Boxing. A little bit thanks to the king of violence, you know what I mean? And it's really cool being the king of violence and the way that these fighters brawl, the way they speak to me throughout the week, and the way that they get in the ring and they really show out. And a lot of them, after a banger of a fight, will get out of the ring and tell me a couple things when I'm sitting there booth side. So, it's really an honor to have these guys fight. And if they just saw my fight at all, they know the violence that they have to bring to the Dirty Boxing ring. And, free on YouTube. The fans can't beat that. We're one of the top shows in the combat sports world right now.
I assume Michael Hansen will be back doing the ring announcing duties because he was spectacular at the third one.
Yes, I actually, this time we have not heard anything through my group chats about a different announcer. So I think we got him booked. He's with us, and we are using Michael Hansen. We enjoyed his ring announcing for sure. Usually after the events, we kind of always went in the group chat with little ideas about where certain things should go. Maybe there was a different look at other guys, but not with this one. With Michael Hansen, we thought he did an incredible job.
So one of the things that I think sticks out about this card, especially if you've watched all of them, is, as we mentioned, it's going to be in Nashville. We are out of Miami. We are out of the hangar for this one. Mm-hmm. Is this a sign of things to come? Because I think the ambiance of the hangar is what sort of separates Dirty Boxing. It just looks awesome. And, in closing everybody, it seems loud, even though there's not like 10,000 people in there. Is this a sign of things for 2026? Are we going to see Dirty Boxing more on the road in 2026, more events around the U.S.? Perhaps maybe Dirty Boxing going international in 2026, dare I say.
It all sounds good to me. Now, this is one of the partners' hometown. I think he wanted to bring it here. We had a lot of people in Nashville area that wanted to catch a glimpse of Dirty Boxing. It's hard to beat Miami. And, speaking of the country boots, Nashville's got some boots to fill with us having all our shows in Miami, and we've always had a great time. But Nashville is a party city. They got that, that fun streak in them. So we're looking to bring the Dirty Boxing over there to them. And I think we are going to have a great time. And this just kind of sets up plans and ideas for the future of where we might take things next. I know other fighters on the card were asking us, maybe go to Texas, maybe go here, maybe go there. The fun spot is everyone wants to go to Vegas. We got to get Dirty Boxing approved over there in Vegas and bring it over there with the small gloves and ground and pound action. So, time will tell where we go next. I cannot say clearly now, but we're going to Nashville this Thursday, and it's going to be a banger.
For those attending in the Nashville area, or for those in the Nashville area who have not gotten their tickets yet, I always tell people, when they ask me how it is to watch, I'm just like, it's a cool thing to watch. The pacing's incredible. It just goes bang, 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 bang. But then you never know who's going to show up. I mean, I'm watching DBX 3 and all of a sudden Shaq comes walking in and sits down and he's watching the fights and he gets on camera and has he's calling you out for a fight. And John's always there. And we know John's going to be there meeting some fans this week as well. Gable hopes, from talking to him, he hopes some of these country music folk that are from there may slide in there and check him out. But any idea who else will be in the building on Thursday for those who are going to be watching or attending?
I can't stand that question because things always change, especially the last week. The last week is so crazy, up in the air. People get called that we've had booked to come. Some important celebs that were looking to come, and we just keep our fingers crossed that their schedule doesn't fill up with something like a money grab and they have to go do that instead. So we want to bring them the entertainment. These fighters are so ready to bring it to them, and just whoever comes is that next lucky guy. I think I guess I got to say, I was just talking with Taylor Holder. So that's one country star we're going to have in the house. Taylor Holder, you better come now that I'm calling it out. Make me look foolish. Taylor Holder should come up in the building, and then we'll have some others, man. But Taylor's a good friend of mine. He's a great celeb. He's a great artist and has good music. So never know who's going to pull up in Nashville and see us at DBX. We got the most exciting fights lined up this week, and we're putting it on a Thursday. So we're bringing you your weekend early. Go to AXS.com, type in DBX Nashville, and get your tickets, man. This is a bigger arena than we had at the Hangar in Miami. So few more seats to fill, and I think we'll have a better crowd.
That is this Thursday, and if you can't make it, 8 p.m. Eastern, live on the YouTube channel, and you can watch it for free, like Mike said. But I want to transition real quick, Mike, because there's a lot happening in the combat sports world, and as people very well know, you have been in some wars in the ring and in the octagon and cages, and there has been sort of a division amongst the combat sports community in regards to what happened on Saturday at UFC 321. We're in the first round of the main event, Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane. Both guys are landing shots. You got it, man. Gane's looking, and look at Ciryl Gane, man. Like, he comes out, people think he's just got to get done up real fast by Tom Aspinall, but Gane moving around good. He's landing shots. He busts Tom's nose up, and then, as you just showed, the eye poke from doom from Ciryl Gane ends the fight in a no contest. And we have seen fans and fighters, past and present, defend Aspinall for not continuing. And we've also seen a cluster of the fan base. And we've even seen past and present fighters saying, hey, man, it's a fight. Even with one eye, you should keep going. So as a man who has been in many legendary battles, I'm curious your reaction to what happened on Saturday, and I guess what side are you on in this conversation?
I've been on John's side. I've been on John Jones' side. You know, he's been at the top of the game, and the gap's not close. The gap is nowhere near close. He's been on top of the game for over 20 years. It's unheard of. It's impossible to do it again, to do what he's done. John has did it, man. And coming from a tough fighter like myself, who's been in battles, I haven't always been the cleanest, but I still grind and get the wins. And it's a really cool way to do it sometimes in my book. But John has been perfect. And you can't copy that. So, you know, it just goes to show Tom Aspinall has been a great fighter. He kind of came out of nowhere with the jumping into John's boots and calling him for the fight. That's how these fights happen. That's how these things get done. Sometimes you got to call for it. Closed mouths don't get fed. But, you know, all the banter that comes behind it with the UK fans and people believing that Tom is this and that John was never all of those things that he was, you know, it just, you know, it's funny how these things manifest sometimes. Nothing against Tom. You know, he was asking the derogatory question of, have you ever been fingered by an MMA fighter? And it was such a funny little clip for all these haters on the internet. They just love it. The little haters just love it in their grandma's basement. And somebody got fingered by an MMA fighter and it wasn't what you wanted. I hope he heals up well. I hope he can make it back to the ring. I have no ill will towards Tom Aspinall. I know nothing really about him, except he's been an accomplished fighter and he was a champion. And John saw something we didn't. And, you know, the fact that nobody really wanted the John Jones versus Alex Pereira fight, that's the fight. It's been the fight. And John saw that a while ago. You know, John's the best ever, and I can say that as being one of the baddest, toughest, roughest guys, man. I'm super happy to have him as a partner here in DBX. Even if he does think it's funny that I had coochie lips for a face or whatever they said about me taking a pounding, but I sure can take that beating, and I'll be back again. Just remember that. Anytime you want to try me, you better be strapped.
But as far as the poke itself and how the fight just ending that way, what did you think about it? And, you know, you got Chael and Anthony Smith saying, like, look, man, fight with one eye. Like, this is a title fight. Like, keep going. And then there's other people saying, like, dude, you haven't fought in 455 days. You're defending your title for the first time.
That's
You just got
easy to
poked in the
say. I
eye.
remember
It hasn't been
I
going
remember
spectacular. Okay.
Diego Sanchez, I think he got kneed on the ground or he got an eye poke or something, and he was like, you know what? I can't continue. And he got his pay and win. He got that show and win money, boy. Sometimes you got to do what's smarter for you and not just all of it for the entertainment of the fans. I mean, it was smarter that Aspinall saved some of his record. You go back in there with one eye. You don't have that mean streak in you because Gane's landing shots and you're not sure what you can do with one eye, or the pain in your eye is bothering you so bad you can't even focus and concentrate. You know, it gets him a no contest on his record, so he's still undefeated with that one at the end. It's not a defeat, and he'll come back. Like Dana White said, it makes the rematch look more appealing, and that's the fight game, man. These things happen. People on the internet who don't fight, or even if they do and they just don't at a high level, somebody's always going to have something to say, and it never matters. The only ones that matter are the ones who put the time in, put the work, the effort, make the weights or do the hard parts and get in the ring and perform.
Yeah, I mean, at least for me personally, the whole Tom quit, he looked for a way out thing is absolutely ridiculous. It drives me nuts. But there are people, even Dana to some extent, like could have gone to the presser and just said like, "Hey man, his eye was wrecked. He couldn't fight. We support him." But it was more like, "Yeah, man, the poke happened and Tom chose not to keep fighting." And now it's like, "See, he's a quitter." So like,
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about this
Well,
whole he's a quitter. He looked for a way out because the going got tough, and now he had an excuse because he got poked in the eye.
I mean, I would look for a way to save that O on my record. If we're in there and I'm getting touched up and bloody and I got one eye, if there's any thought in my head that it's like I can't come back and win this fight, then I need to find a new strategy. And fast feet, think quick. He did. He thought quick, or he got poked, and through that pain of something like that, sometimes that's all you can focus on. Dana is get him oiled up, man. Him and John are back best friends again. We can all be happy about it. John is the true legend that we knew he was. And I hate that sometimes you even thought otherwise. Maybe Tom could do something. Maybe this, maybe that. No, it's facts are facts. And one fact I know is that I'm the king of violence because this bare knuckle shit is real, dog. And one day the king of violence is gonna get in the dirty boxing ring with them 4-ounce gloves on, and I'm gonna hit somebody with an elbow again. It might be Brian Battle. Did you hear that? Me and Brian Battle were having to call each other out.
Okay. Hey, listen,
It could be me and Brian at
that's a good
185.
main event. That's a hell of a main event right there. Last thing about this fight, and then I have one more thing to ask you about. I assume your biggest takeaway from that fight was that John would have beat Tom. Like any doubt you had, maybe it was gone. That's kind of what I'm hearing. What do you think? If they were to fight in 6 months, you
Well,
don't think
that's not
Tom
how
does
it
very well?
works, right? Like the way it works is like, I mean, I had John. I was going to pick John regardless, which sometimes I'm afraid of because I'm like, but John's that one guy that even if I'm afraid to pick the person that I wanted to win, because when I pick the person I want, they usually don't. But John is the exception, and he has been the exception. He's very smart. He thinks with his brain. He fights with his brain, and you know, he like what he did to Ciryl Gane was incredible. And Ciryl heard us all saying that going into the fight with Tom, and then he came out to fight. He came out to hit Tom with some shit because he heard us all saying Tom's got to definitely beat him better than John did, and that's going to be hard to do. And Cyril's hearing that like, shit, watch this. And then, I'm not sure. I'm not saying that Ciryl poked him on purpose. That was an accident. I don't think he would do that on purpose. But we'd have to see a rematch, and if John and Tom, go full circle and they're gonna fight this time, I'm gonna have John again. I think he's gonna go into the fight knowing everything he knows now and then thinking about new things and training for those things. It's just something about him is the way he knows how to stay steps ahead.
Yeah, I think the Pereira fight's the way to go. I always thought the Pereira fight was the way to go. As long as he wasn't the champion and we could move the other division along while he fought Alex, cool. And even John said it. After he beat Stipe, he was like, I don't need a title to fight Pereira. Like, let's just do it. And the UFC should have said, bet, we'll give the title to Tom, and then you could fight Alex. Like, everybody wins. The division moves forward. You get the big fight with Alex that everyone will be excited about. And it just took John saying, like, all right, fine. I'll have to retire, and then I'll come back and fight Alex. Does that work? And it looks like we might get that fight at the White House, which will be absolutely gigantic and massive, and
that would be cool.
Everybody will watch that fight.
They should throw me on there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You and Brian battle?
The White House. Me and Conor McGregor at the White House.
Oh.
I'll be Conor's opponent.
Okay.
Let's go. I think that one makes sense.
What do you think? Conor's made some headlines recently. He showed up at the press conference in Italy before the BKFC card, and wasn't the same Conor we've seen. He wasn't yelling and screaming. He wasn't, full of energy. More subdued. He says he took basically a look at himself in the mirror. He seems to have found religion a little bit, and says he's been saved. So I hope this is true. And I'm curious if you saw those comments and your thought, because you guys are so linked to being rivals because of things that have been said back and forth and et cetera. But, to see Conor like that after all this time, taking the comeback seriously and stuff, what did you see? What did you think of that?
As he should. There's a lot of money on the line. He does have to step away and focus. I mean, that's the best thing he can do for himself and stay training and dive into it deeper and plug out all that noise that I speak about, because everybody's always got something to say, and all that matters is getting in that ring and performing for us guys who do that. So, sometimes we have to talk that big game, and then we get our chance to prepare and step in the ring and back it up. And, Conor blew himself up. He's become the most famous combat sports athlete, really. And then he was a movie star, and he's doing side quests and happy to have the promotion from him. As far as I'm 6-0 in bare knuckle with the 6 fight experience in there. And no matter what anyone says, my shit's proven. And, look forward to seeing Conor McGregor's return. Like I said, it would be nice that it would be me up against him fighting here on the U.S. lawn, or, I think it makes sense.
That'd be a big fight. You mentioned leaving it all in the ring. There'll be 24 fighters doing exactly that this Thursday. DBX 4, Nashville, Tennessee. The main event, Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson making his promotional debut against Bellator, PFL, and BKFC veteran Billy Swanson. It's going to be a lot of fun. All kicks off 8 p.m. Eastern on the Dirty Boxing YouTube channel. I'm sure there's going to be lots of other YouTube channels streaming it as well. For the international fans, the great Renato Moicano will be providing a stream of the event as well. So make sure you check that out. I'm sure you will laugh a whole bunch, because Renato Moicano is a very funny man. And it's going to be a great event. Mike, thank you for the time. All the best in Nashville. Enjoy Music City, USA. And enjoy wearing the promoter, and I assume the color commentary hat as well.
We're looking for some big stuff, man. Last time I was in Nashville was lights out in Nashville when I fought Jake Ellenberger. So we're looking for some big old knockouts here at DBX this Thursday. Get your honky tonk on and let's celebrate. Let's party, baby. Woo!